Kyle, top of the table rolled into town this week. And the final scoreline did blow out a little bit, but that first half, when we seemed to be in it at 16-0, unfortunately they scored a try and a penalty late-ish on in that first half that took it to 20-0. But we had that chances to at least notch something on the scoreboard.
Yeah, I thought we challenged and we made good meters against the top team. We played a little bit. I wanted to play not quite as dynamic off back of a bit of ball movement, but as you said, like, other than 3 or 4 players, which we do need to improve on, there's no sugarcoating that. What lead to fall over tries again, if you like. On them one-off players, they were more of an armour. So like you said, against a great team, I thought in patches our line speed were a lot more aggressive. We hunted a lot more. We had a little bit more control around the ruck. But yeah, it's just, and then we just went back to old habits, a little bit. Old habits die hard, and that's the bit that's infuriated me a little bit, and disappointed me more for them. Like I've just said to the boys, it's just not happening. Like, that's not non-negotiable. We turned a little bit selfish, turned a little bit blamey and finger pointing and stuff like that, and then that's left a bit of taste, as well as the score, in a game where a great clinical side, 10 or so opportunities they had, then capitalised and scored on, and obviously we weren't quite up to that at times, but for the majority they did have to work pretty hard. So there's little bits to take from it as well.
Yeah. Is it something that shows where both sides are at, sitting at either end of the table, that when in that first half we had a couple of opportunities to get back-to-back sets, we knock on the dropout or we don't complete them? Although yes, we didn't put anything on the scoreboard, we just didn't turn over on our terms.
Yeah, I think, yeah, to be fair, a little bit more in depth from that from me. Yes, the errors are not ideal, but we also force them to make plenty of it. I think it's the learning what your errors turn into and how they transition across your game on a bigger scale. And obviously in the first half we did have that spell and we managed it quite well. Obviously it rolled into a try later on, but they had to work really hard for it in that last bit. Like I said, I'm just not accepting getting beaten up guts with just one out carries. I know they've got great players, but we just seemed to step away a little bit lethargic, a little bit like we were saving ourselves, and for other players that weren't necessarily going to come and didn't come in the end against a great team, as you said. And but then on the flip side of it, 100%, as you said, there's a reason they're up there, and it's because they're clinical and take the opportunities. That's on our journey now. We've started to create a little bit of effort. I know they did really well on catching us and driving us back a few times, and negative meters and forced repeats and stuff, but other than that, we did make meters better than we have been making them. How I'm asking them to play, it's just what comes next after that. When we've got a little bit of disruption, moving bodies around, then how do we take it on, which they gave us a masterclass on in that last 20 minutes when we seemed to just put us queuing rack and go, well, I'm not quite sure what's going on here, let's go back to old habits, as I said. So yeah, it's one of them things. I'm really frustrated, obviously, and I know the lads are and stuff like that, but you've got to take your opportunities against a great team. We didn't.
With the remaining games of the season, barring Toulouse, everybody that we're playing is sort of in and around where we are. Does that give us an opportunity to start putting little things right?
Hopefully. I mean, every week for us is in that wheelhouse. That's our goals. Obviously, us internally, this late in the season, there's only so much you can do to invoke any sort of responses and changes. Obviously, you can't go as hard as you could in pre-season and stuff like that. So every week, no matter who we're playing against, it is a bit of an acid test, but internally, on ourselves, on our standards and what we're expecting. The boys have to deal with that side of things. We prepare no different, whether it's a top team or someone right above us on the ladder, you know. So we've just got to make sure that we prepare consistently and that we're finding the stuff that works. And stuff did change. Like I said, I'm bitterly disappointed and furious at some of the efforts or lack of in that last bit. But that being said, there's plenty of opportunities where I'm going, well, that is us now. And ultimately, I know it's ironic saying that when you concede as many as you did, but the fact is that them plays, we've just got to get better in them initial plays. Yes, we might make some system errors or one-on-one misreads and whatever, but we've got to have a little bit more effort around it and a bit more dying attitude. And in times we had some, Jimmy came up with a great try saver, a one-on-one, but part of that in the game, then we had no energy to get around him, and that's something we're trying to develop and build on. So I think from that point, from the outside looking in, you could feel that we were a little bit flat and a little bit fatigued from some of the as you said, the poor transitions we did do. That being said, no excuses for lads. I think we had about 5 people in the real positions, on the true usual positions. That's not to make an excuse for anything, but that's just how things are. As I said, they did some good things in that part, and there's plenty we can learn on. Obviously, other bodies in them general positions, freeing up other bodies in other positions, then we'll probably look a little bit more coordinated in attack. I'm not going to say we score 50 points, but I think it was plain to see that you could see that we just didn't have the combinations, which we struggled to have. We don't have a great balance in terms of positions, obviously spread out through positions. We're quite heavy in certain areas. Then people have to play out of positions, and then to the credit, they're doing it. They did it tough, and they did have plenty of effort in that. The frustrating side of it is obviously it leads us to look like we don't know what we're doing, and that's not the case. It's just horses for courses, unfortunately, at times.
Well, commiserations on today. We'll look forward to Halifax next week.
Thanks, mate.
Cheers.